Can a man who has stolen, killed, and run ever be forgiven? She believed he could. The dust rose behind Jesse Morgan's boots as he walked into Salvation Creek. The sun burned overhead. His throat felt like sand. He hadn't tasted water since dawn. The town was small. A crooked saloon, a faded store, a white church at the end of the road, but it was the kind of place where strangers were noticed. And Jesse Morgan was more than a stranger. He was a wanted man. Eyes tracked him down the street. A woman yanked her child inside. The blacksmith turned his back. An old man spat into the dirt. They knew. Somehow they always knew. Jesse pushed open the saloon door. Every conversation died. Every head turned. He walked to the bar. "Water," Jesse said quietly. The barman stared at him. Big man with a scar across his nose. "We don't serve your kind here. I can pay." "I don't want blood money. Get out." Jesse nodded once and walked back into the heat. His throat burned worse now, but he'd survive. He always did. Then he heard a scream. Jesse ran. He turned the corner. 4 men had cornered a woman against the wall. Young, dark hair, plain dress torn at the shoulder. She struggled, but the man gripping her arm was twice her size. "Let me go." "The preacher's daughter, boys." One laughed. "Let's see how holy she is." "I wouldn't do that." Jesse's voice cut cold through the laughter. The men turned. "Who the hell are you?" "Doesn't matter. Let her go." The big man laughed. "You got a death wish, stranger?" "Maybe, but you'll die first." The laughter stopped. "Last chance." "Or what?" Jesse moved fast. His fist cracked into the first man's jaw. The man dropped. The second lunged. Jesse grabbed his arm and twisted. Bones snapped. The third pulled a knife. Jesse caught his wrist and slammed it against the wall. The knife clattered down. His elbow drove into the man's ribs. The fourth charged. Jesse sidestepped and threw him face first into the dirt. His boot pressed into the man's chest. "Stay down." All 4 scrambled up and ran, cursing and bleeding. Jesse turned. The woman stood against the wall, breathing hard. Her eyes were wide, but not with fear. "Are you hurt?" Jesse asked. She shook her head. "No. Thank you." Jesse nodded and turned to leave. "Wait, what's your name?" Names were dangerous, but something made him answer. "Jesse Morgan." Her breath caught. She knew the name. Everyone did. Jesse Morgan, bank robber, outlaw, killer. He waited for the scream. Instead, she stepped forward. "I've heard of you." "Then you should stay away. Bad men don't usually save people." Jesse's chest tightened. "You don't know what I've done." "I know what you just did." He turned. She was mid-20s with dark eyes and a strong jaw, plain cloth and sun-browned skin, but something in her face didn't flinch. "My name is Faith Henderson. My father is the preacher here." "Then you really should stay away." "My father preaches forgiveness too. Maybe you should hear him sometime." Jesse shook his head. "I'm not looking for forgiveness." "Then what are you looking for?" He didn't have an answer. Faith studied him. "You're thirsty." She pulled a canteen from her bag. "Take it." "I don't need charity." "It's water, please." Finally he took it. The water was cool and clean. It tasted like life. "Thank you." "Where are you staying?" "Nowhere. I'll move on tonight. There's a barn behind the church. You can sleep there." "Your father doesn't need to know." Her chin lifted. "You saved my life. I can give you shelter." "Why help me?" "I know what people say you are." "That's not the same thing." She stepped closer. "A man who only cared about himself wouldn't have stopped." "That doesn't erase what I've done." "Maybe not, but it's a start." Jesse's throat tightened. "Everyone deserves a place to rest. Jesse Morgan, even you." She walked away. Her footsteps light in the dust. Jesse stood there. Something twisted in his chest. Something he hadn't felt in 5 years. Hope. That night Jesse sat in the barn. The hay smelled sweet. Moonlight came through the cracks. It was quiet. Too quiet. His mind filled the silence with memories. The bank in Silver Ridge. The gunshot. The man who fell. Jesse hadn't pulled the trigger, but he'd been there. He'd held the bag. That made him guilty. Then the stagecoach outside Dodge City. The woman who screamed. The child who cried. Jesse's partner had raised his gun. Jesse knocked it aside. Let them go. They'd fought. Jesse won. The family escaped. That's why he'd left the gang. That's why he'd been running. The barn door creaked. His hand moved to his knife. But it was Faith. She carried a plate. Bread, cheese, an apple. You shouldn't be here, Jesse said. Neither should you. She set the plate down. Eat. I don't need pity. I'm offering food. There's a difference. Jesse picked up the bread. It was fresh and warm. Faith watched him. She didn't speak for a long time. Why are you really doing this? Jesse asked. Faith sighed. My father preaches about forgiveness every Sunday. Redemption. How no one is beyond saving. She looked at her hands. But when someone actually needs it, the church turns them away. Maybe they're afraid. Of what? Of being wrong. Of realizing mercy is harder than judgment? Her eyes were fierce. I'm tired of just talking about faith, Jesse. I want to live it. You don't know what you're asking for. Then tell me. What you did. Why you're running. You don't want to know. Yes, I do. Why? Because I can't help if I don't understand. I don't want help. Liar. The word hit hard, but she didn't look away. You're running, but you can't run forever. Her voice softened. And then what? You die alone? Is that what you want? Jesse looked away. It's what I deserve. Maybe you deserve a chance too. Footsteps pounded outside. The barn door slammed open. A man stood there, tall tin star on his chest. The sheriff, holding a rifle. Faith, step away. Faith stood. No. He's wanted. He saved my life. That doesn't change what he is. The sheriff's eyes locked on Jesse. You're under arrest. I'm not armed. Doesn't matter. Faith stepped between them. He hasn't done anything wrong. Not here. Faith. He protected me when no one else would. Doesn't that count? The sheriff's jaw worked. He looked at Faith, then Jesse, then back. One night, gone by dawn, or I'm locking him up. He lowered the rifle and left. Faith breathed out. You shouldn't have done that, Jesse said. Probably not. He could arrest you. He won't. Her eyes met his. You're leaving tomorrow? I have to. Where? Somewhere far. Faith pulled out a folded paper. A map. Places where the law doesn't look hard, where you might be safe. Jesse's chest tightened. Why? Everyone deserves a chance to start over. She pressed it into his hand. Even you. She turned. Faith. She stopped. Thank you. She smiled, small and sad. Don't waste it. She left. Jesse sat alone in the darkness. Outside the wind rose. A coyote howled. Something crinkled in his pocket. He pulled it out. Another paper tucked inside the map. 4 words in careful script. You are not alone. Jesse's vision blurred. Tomorrow he would leave. But tonight, for the first time in 5 years, Jesse Morgan wasn't running from something. He was running toward it. Jesse woke before dawn. Cold air bit at his skin. His hand reached for his knife out of habit. The note was still in his pocket. You are not alone. He stood and gathered his things. A worn coat. The map. Time to leave. But when he opened the barn door, Faith was there. She held a cloth bundle. Bread. A canteen. Dried meat. You're leaving, she said. I have to. She pushed the bundle toward him. Not on an empty stomach. Their fingers brushed as he took it. Thank you. Faith glanced back at the church. The whole town's talking about you saving me yesterday. I should have kept riding. But you didn't. She pulled something from her pocket. Silver compass. This was my mother's. I can't. Maybe it'll bring you home someday. She pressed it into his hand. Angry voices rose from the street. Faith's face went pale. They're coming. Back trail behind the church. North 2 miles. Then west. Faith. Go. Jesse ran. The trail twisted through brush. Sun painted the hills gold. He cleared 2 miles and looked back. Salvation Creek sat quiet below. Faith was down there. Alone. Every instinct said run. But Jesse turned around. He reached town and kept to shadows. 6 men stood outside the church. The sheriff. And Faith with her father gripping her arm. You brought an outlaw into our church. The preacher's voice carried. I gave shelter to someone who needed it, Faith said. That man is a criminal. That man saved my life. You're defending him? Yes, because that's what faith means, Father. Real faith. A new voice cut through. Sounds like Jesse's made himself some friends. Jesse's blood went cold. A man stepped out. Tall, lean, scar on his cheek, 2 pistols. Cole Brennan, his old partner. Heard you were in town, Jesse. The crowd scattered. The sheriff reached for his gun, but Cole was faster. Easy, Sheriff. Cole's eyes found Faith. Pretty girl. Is she why you went soft? Jesse stepped from the shadows. Leave her alone, Cole. Cole grinned. There he is. The gang's back together. Big job coming. We need you. I'm done with that life. Are you? Cole looked at Faith. You playing house now? I said I'm done. Cole's smile faded. You don't get to be done. Come back or people get hurt. His hand rested on his pistol, starting with her. Faith stepped between them. If you want to hurt someone, go through me first. Cole laughed. You got guts, girl. Faith, get back, Jesse said. No, she looked at Cole. You want Jesse? Deal with all of us. The preacher stepped forward. Then the sheriff. Then townspeople. Not many, but enough. Cole's smile died. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's ours to make. Cole stared at them. 1 week, Jesse. Come back or I'm coming for you. And I won't be alone. He walked away. His boots echoed on the wood. The sheriff spoke. He's not bluffing. That man's killed before. I know, Jesse said. Then leave. Tonight. No. Everyone turned. Jesse looked at Faith, at her father, at the people who'd stood with them. I've been running 5 years. I'm tired. So what are you gonna do? The sheriff asked. Jesse touched the compass in his pocket. Stay. And fight. You'll die, the preacher said. Maybe, but not running. If you stay, the sheriff said slowly, you'll need help, and you'll need to prove you've changed. He looked at the preacher. Your church needs a new roof. Storm damaged it. He turned to Jesse. You good with a hammer? I can learn. Then that's where you start. Earn this town's help. 1 nail at a time. Jesse looked at Faith. She smiled. 1 nail at a time, he repeated. The crowd left. The preacher looked unhappy. The sheriff nodded. Faith stayed. You're really staying? I'm really staying. Why? Jesse opened the compass. The needle pointed north. Maybe it's time to stop running. Time to find home. Faith's hand covered his. Then let's find it together. Jesse saw something in her eyes he'd thought was lost. A future. But dust rose on the horizon. 1 week to prepare. 1 week to prove himself. The clock was ticking. The hammer felt heavy in Jesse's hand. He stood on the church roof, the sun beating down on his back. Below, the town watched. Some curious, some suspicious, all waiting to see if the outlaw would run. Jesse drove the nail in, then another. The work was hard. His hands blistered, but he didn't stop. Faith's father watched from below, arms crossed, face stern. He hadn't spoken to Jesse since yesterday, hadn't acknowledged him except to point at the broken boards. That was fine. Jesse didn't need words. He needed work, something to prove he wasn't the man Cole thought he was. By noon, Jesse's shirt was soaked with sweat. His arms ached, but half the roof was done. You're doing it wrong. Jesse looked down. An old man stood there, gray beard, weathered face. The nails, the man said. You're spacing them too far. Winter wind'll rip that roof clean off. Jesse nodded. Show me. The old man blinked. Then he climbed up, slowly. His joints creaked, but his hands were steady. Like this, he said, driving a nail. 6 inches apart, no more. Jesse watched. Then copied. The old man nodded. You learn quick. I've had practice. At being an outlaw. Jesse's hands stilled. At surviving. The old man studied him. Name's Henry. I run the store. Jesse. I know who you are. Henry picked up another board. Whole town knows. Question is, who are you trying to be? Jesse didn't have an answer. They worked in silence. By mid-afternoon, Henry climbed down, but he nodded once before he left. It was something. As the sun began to set, Jesse heard footsteps on the ladder. He turned, expecting Henry. But it was Faith. She climbed onto the roof, careful in her long skirt. She carried a basket. "You've been up here all day," she said. "Still work to do. You need to eat." She sat beside him and opened the basket. Bread, cheese, cold chicken. Jesse's stomach growled. He hadn't realized how hungry he was. Faith handed him the food. He ate slowly, watching the town below. Lights flickered in windows. Smoke rose from chimneys. It looked peaceful, like a place someone could call home. "My father's angry," Faith said quietly. "I know. Not at you. At me." She looked at her hands. "He says I'm being foolish, risking everything for a man I barely know. Maybe he's right." "Maybe." Faith's eyes met his. "But I don't think so." Jesse wanted to look away, but he couldn't. "Why?" he asked. "Why do you believe in me?" Faith was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled, small, sad. "My mother used to say that people aren't just their worst moments. She'd say everyone has light inside them. Sometimes it just takes someone else to see it first." "What if there's no light?" "There is." Faith's hand touched his. Gentle. "I saw it yesterday. When you saved me. When you came back instead of running." Her fingers squeezed his. "That's not darkness, Jesse. That's light trying to get out." Jesse's throat tightened. No one had ever talked to him like this. Like he was worth saving. "I've done bad things," he said quietly. "I know. Things I can't take back. I know that too." Faith didn't let go of his hand. "But you left that life. You chose different. That matters." "Cole doesn't think so." "Cole's wrong." Her voice was fierce now. "And in 6 days we'll prove it." Jesse looked at their hands. Hers so small and clean. His rough and scarred. "You shouldn't be mixed up in this," he said. "Too late. I'm already mixed up." Faith smiled. "Besides, someone has to keep you from spacing those nails too far apart." Jesse almost laughed. Almost. They sat together as the sun set. The sky turned orange, then pink, then deep purple. Stars began to appear. "Tell me about her," Faith said softly. "Who?" "Your mother. The one who gave you that compass." Jesse stiffened. "That's your mother's compass." "I know, but you have one too. I saw it in your pocket yesterday." "Old, worn." Jesse pulled it out. The metal was dull. The glass cracked. But the needle still pointed true. "She gave it to me when I was 10, he said. "Said it would always lead me home." "What happened to her?" "Fever took her 2 years later. Then my father started drinking. Lost the farm. Lost everything." Jesse's voice went flat. "I was 14 when I left. Been on my own since." "That's when you met Cole?" "No. Met him 5 years ago. I was working cattle drives. Honest work. Hard work." Jesse closed the compass. "Then the ranch went under. Owner couldn't pay. Left us all with nothing. So you turned to robbery." "So I survived." Jesse looked at her. "You think that's an excuse?" "No. But I think it's a reason." Faith touched the compass. "And I think that boy who kept his mother's compass for 20 years isn't all bad. That boy's gone." "Is he?" Faith's eyes held his. "Because I'm looking at a man who's fixing a church roof, who's working until his hands bleed, who's staying to fight even though running would be easier." She leaned closer. "That doesn't sound like the boy is gone. That sounds like he's finally coming home." Jesse couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. All he could do was look at this woman who saw things in him he'd forgotten existed. "Faith," he whispered. She was so close now. He could see the gold in her eyes, the curve of her lips, the way her hair caught the last of the light. "Jesse," she whispered back. And then she kissed him. It was soft, gentle. Like forgiveness tasted. Jesse's hand came up to cup her face. His thumb brushed her cheek, and for one perfect moment the world was just them. No past, no Cole, no threat. Just light. When they pulled apart, Faith was smiling. "See?" she said. "Light?" Jesse's heart pounded in his chest. "Faith, I—" A sound cut him off. Boots on the street below. Heavy, deliberate. They both looked down. A man stood in the shadows across from the church. Tall, lean, hat pulled low. Not Cole, but one of his men. Jesse recognized him. Garrett. Young, Fast with a gun. Loyal to Cole. He was watching the church, watching them. Jesse's hand moved to his belt, but he had no gun. The sheriff had taken it. Garrett saw him looking, smiled, tipped his hat. Then he turned and walked away. Slow. Unhurried. Faith's hand gripped Jesse's arm. Who was that? One of Cole's men. What does it mean? Jesse's jaw tightened. It means Cole's watching, waiting to see what I'll do. And he's reminding me that in 6 days he's coming. Jesse looked at Faith. And when he does, people are going to die. Faith's eyes were steady, unafraid. Then we'll be ready. Faith. We'll be ready, she repeated. Firm. Sure. Jesse looked at this woman who'd kissed him on a rooftop, who'd stood between him and a killer, who believed in light. And he made a choice. Then I better finish this roof, he said. Faith smiled. One nail at a time. One nail at a time. They climbed down together. The town was quiet now, but Jesse felt eyes watching, not just Garrett. The whole town, waiting, wondering. In 6 days they'd have their answer. In 6 days Jesse Morgan would prove he was more than his past. Or he'd die trying. 3 days passed like water through fingers. The church roof was almost finished, and Jesse's hands had grown calloused from honest work. His back ached every morning, but the pain felt earned. The town was warming to him. Henry brought him coffee most mornings. The blacksmith nodded when Jesse passed. A woman at the store even smiled yesterday. Faith came every evening, sometimes with food, sometimes just to sit beside him on the church steps. They didn't always need words anymore. On the 4th day the sheriff brought news. Cole's men are in town, 3 of them at the saloon. Jesse's hands went still. How long? Since yesterday. Watching and waiting. For me to run. The sheriff studied him. Will you? Jesse looked at the church, then at Faith in the doorway with sunlight in her hair. No, I'm done running. The sheriff nodded. Then we prepare. 2 days left. That night Jesse sat in the barn cleaning a rifle. Sleep wouldn't come. The door opened. Faith. You should be sleeping, Jesse said. So should you. She settled beside him. Are you frightened? Yes. Good. Fear keeps you alive. Her hand found his. I'm scared too. You could leave. Go somewhere safe. I'm not leaving you, Jesse Morgan. Not ever. His throat tightened. I don't deserve you. But you have me anyway. She leaned against him. We'll face this together. The next day Jesse drove the last nail into the church roof. He climbed down and stepped back. The church stood whole again. Faith's father approached, stopping to look at the roof. Good work, the preacher said. Thank you, sir. The preacher's jaw worked. My daughter loves you. I can see it. Jesse's heart stuttered. I love her too. Then don't die tomorrow. She's all I have left. He extended his hand. You're welcome at Sunday service if you survive. Jesse gripped his hand. I'll be there. That evening Jesse and Faith stood outside as the sun bled red across the sky. Tomorrow, Faith said. One way or another. Jesse pulled out his mother's compass. The needle pointed north, steady and true. When this is over, he said, I want to build something real. A house. A life. With you. Tears gathered in Faith's eyes. Are you asking? Not yet. Not until I've earned it. He closed the compass. But someday if you'll have me. I'll have you, Faith whispered. Today, tomorrow, forever. They kissed as the sun disappeared. Near midnight, movement made Jesse raise his rifle. But it wasn't Cole. It was Henry with his shotgun, the blacksmith, and 5 other townsmen. What are you doing? Jesse asked. Standing with you, Henry said. You fixed our church. That makes you one of us. Cole's dangerous. So are we when we need to be. Henry checked his gun. We might get you killed, but we're trying. Jesse's chest tightened. Thank you. The sheriff arrived. Cole's coming at dawn. 6 men. Jesse looked at his group. 8, total. Bad odds. We defend from the church, Jesse said. Henry and 2 men on the roof. Sheriff and I take the bell tower. Rest spread out. They moved into position. Faith appeared with a rifle. No, Jesse said. Yes. My father taught me to shoot. I'm staying. Jesse knew that look. Stay behind cover. Promise me. I promise. The sky lightened. 6 riders appeared against the dawn, moving with confidence. Cole dismounted, lazy and arrogant. "Jesse Morgan, time's up." Jesse stepped out, rifle ready. "I'm here, Cole. Hoped you'd run." "I'm done running." "Unfortunate." Cole's hand moved to his pistol. "Last chance. Ride with me or watch them die." Jesse raised his rifle. "Then we're all dying today." Cole's smile vanished. "So be it." His hand flashed to his gun and the morning exploded with gunfire. The first gunshot cracked like lightning, and the world exploded into chaos. Jesse dropped behind the church wall as bullets tore through the morning air. Wood splintered, dust kicked up. The sound was deafening. "Hold your fire," the sheriff shouted. "Wait for clean shots." Cole's men spread out, using the buildings for cover. They were professionals, moving with practiced precision, but Jesse's group had the advantage of position. Henry fired from the roof. One of Cole's men went down, clutching his shoulder. "5 left," Henry called. Jesse aimed carefully and squeezed the trigger. Another man dropped, this one not getting back up. The odds were shifting. But Cole was smart. He signaled his men to flank left, trying to get around the church. "They're moving!" Faith shouted. She fired once, twice. Her shots were clean and true. The blacksmith stepped out too early. A bullet caught him in the leg and he went down hard. 2 townsmen dragged him behind cover. "Stay down," Jesse yelled. Cole's voice rang out. "You're just delaying the inevitable, Jesse. Give up now and I'll let them live." "You're a liar, Cole," Jesse shouted back. "You always were." Cole laughed, cold and bitter. "Maybe, but at least I'm honest about what I am." Jesse reloaded quickly, his hands steady despite the adrenaline. He'd been in firefights before, but never with so much to lose. A bullet struck the wall inches from his head. Too close. "Jesse." Faith's voice was tight with fear. "I'm fine, stay down." The sheriff took out another of Cole's men with a perfect shot from the bell tower. 3 enemies left now, including Cole. But those 3 were the deadliest. Garrett appeared on Jesse's right, moving fast. Jesse turned and fired, but Garrett was already diving. The bullet missed by inches. Then Garrett's gun swung up toward Faith. Time seemed to slow. Jesse saw it happening, saw Garrett's finger tightening on the trigger, saw Faith exposed, reloading, vulnerable. Jesse didn't think, he just moved. He threw himself in front of her as Garrett fired. The bullet hit Jesse in the shoulder, spinning him around. Pain exploded white-hot through his body. "Jesse!" Faith screamed. He hit the ground hard. Blood soaked through his shirt, hot and wet. But he was alive. Faith's rifle cracked once. Garrett fell, clutching his chest. He didn't move again. "Jesse. Oh God, Jesse." Faith was beside him, her hands pressing against the wound. Tears streamed down her face. "I'm okay," Jesse gasped. "It's not that bad. You're bleeding everywhere. I've had worse." He tried to smile. "Really?" The sheriff took down the last of Cole's men. Now it was just Cole standing alone in the street. Silence fell heavy and thick. "Jesse Morgan." Cole's voice had lost its confidence. "Come out and face me like a man." Jesse struggled to his feet. Faith tried to hold him down, but he shook his head. "I have to finish this." "You're hurt." "I know." He touched her face gently. "But if I don't end it now, he'll never stop coming." Faith's eyes were desperate. "Then I'm coming with you." "No, stay here. Please." "Jesse." "Please." He kissed her forehead. "Trust me." Jesse walked out into the street, his left arm hanging useless at his side. Blood dripped onto the dust. Each step sent fire through his shoulder. Cole stood 30 yards away, his hands hovering over his pistols. "Just you and me now," Cole said. "Like old times." "It's over, Cole. Your men are dead or gone. Let it end here." "Can't do that, brother. You know too much about too many jobs. You're a liability." "I won't talk. I just want to live in peace." Cole's laugh was harsh. "Peace? Men like us don't get peace. We get bullets and graves." "Maybe you're right," Jesse said quietly. "But I'm going to try anyway." "Then you'll die trying." Cole's hands flashed to his guns. But Jesse was faster. Years of running, of surviving, of living on the edge had honed his instincts to a razor's edge. His right hand pulled his revolver and fired in one smooth motion. The bullet caught Cole in the chest. Cole's eyes went wide with shock. His guns fell from his hands. He dropped to his knees, blood spreading across his shirt. "How?" he gasped. Jesse walked closer, his gun still trained on Cole. "Because I have something to live for now. You were just trying not to die." Cole's face twisted, then he slumped forward and was still. Jesse stood there, swaying. The gun slipped from his fingers. The world tilted sideways. Then Faith was there, catching him before he fell. "I've got you," she whispered. "I've got you." The doctor worked on Jesse's shoulder for an hour. The bullet had gone clean through, missing bone and major vessels. "Lucky," the doctor said. "Damn lucky." Jesse woke up in a bed in the church, sunlight streaming through clean windows. His shoulder was bandaged tight, and his arm was in a sling. Faith sat beside him, holding his good hand. "You're awake," she said, relief flooding her voice. "How long?" "2 days. The doctor said you needed rest." Jesse looked around. "Cole?" "Buried. His men too. The sheriff sent word to the marshal. Officially you acted in self-defense." Faith squeezed his hand. "You're not wanted anymore, Jesse. The charges are dropped." Jesse's throat tightened. "I'm free?" "You're free." Tears stung his eyes. After 5 years of running, of looking over his shoulder, of living in fear. Free. "The town wants to thank you," Faith said. "Henry's organizing a celebration, says you're a hero." "I'm not a hero. I'm just a man trying to do better." "That's what makes you a hero." Faith leaned down and kissed him softly. "You chose to stay. You chose to fight. You chose us." Jesse pulled her closer with his good arm. "I chose you. Everything else just followed." 3 months later, Jesse stood in front of the church he'd rebuilt. The whole town was there, dressed in their Sunday best. The preacher stood beside him, Bible in hand, and walking down the aisle in a simple white dress was Faith, sunlight catching in her hair like gold. Jesse's shoulder still ached sometimes, especially when it rained, but he didn't mind. It was a reminder of what he'd fought for, what he'd won. Faith reached him and took his hands. Her smile was radiant. "Dearly beloved," the preacher began. Jesse barely heard the words. He was too busy looking at Faith, at the woman who'd seen light in him when everyone else saw only darkness, who'd stood between him and death without flinching, who'd believed in second chances. "Do you, Jesse Morgan, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do," Jesse said, his voice strong and sure. "And do you, Faith Henderson, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I do," Faith said, tears of joy shining in her eyes. "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." The preacher smiled. "You may kiss your bride." Jesse pulled Faith close and kissed her while the church erupted in cheers and applause. When they finally pulled apart, Faith was laughing and crying at the same time. "I love you, Jesse Morgan," she whispered. "I love you too, Faith Morgan." That evening, Jesse stood on the porch of their new house. It was small, just 2 rooms and a kitchen, but it was theirs. He'd built it with his own hands over the past months, every nail driven with purpose. Faith joined him, wrapping her arms around his waist from behind. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Jesse pulled out 2 compasses, his mother's old one and Faith's mother's silver one. He opened them both. The needles pointed north, steady and true. "I'm thinking about home," he said. "How I spent 5 years looking for it in all the wrong places. And now I know." He turned to face her. "Home isn't a place, it's a person." He touched her face gently. "It's you." Faith smiled, and in that smile Jesse saw everything. A future, a family, a life worth living. The sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote howled. The wind carried the scent of sage and wildflowers. And Jesse Morgan, once an outlaw running from his past, finally stood still, finally at peace. Finally home. And the end. If this story of survival, courage, and unexpected love touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to Wild West Untold Love for more tales of redemption on the frontier. And if a moment or a feeling in this story stayed with you, we'd love to hear it in the comments below. Because sometimes the strongest souls are forged in the darkest places, and the greatest love stories begin with the simplest act of kindness.